Hello, this is Remington, Hub City Home Inspection, and today we're going to be talking about plumbing supply, supply lines, distribution systems, fixtures, as well as drain lines for waste and vents. So with our plumbing, things that you'll see noted on there, hey, where's the meter at? It's in the alley, it's in the front yard, out at the street, etc. As well as where's the shutoff. And usually that shutoff is at the meter. If we have a water softener, there's a lot of times there's a shutoff valve at that loop. That'll shut off everything on the interior of the home. Doesn't shut off the exterior hose bibs and things like that though. If we do have a well, which on well systems, we sub those out to a company, but there may be a shutoff somewhere out there, or in that closet, same place our water heater and water softener would be sometimes. So we do schedule and inspect those wells through our company. We just sub that out to a professional that deals with those more regularly than we do. So we know where our water meter is, we know where our shutoff is. We're going to check water pressure. Standards say, hey, we need to be between 40 and 80 psi. If we're not there, then we need a regulator. If we have too much pressure, we need a regulator on there. Because too much pressure can be hard on our lines and our fixtures, our faucets there. And so that's the goal, is say, hey, okay, we're over 80, standards say we need to have a regulator. I've never seen one. If I have, I didn't notice it. I have a little limitations note that simply says, hey, water pressure over 80 psi, I could not locate a pressure regulator. Doesn't mean it's not there, it just means, hey, I didn't see one. So as I go through the home, I get to a bathroom, and that's when we'll start checking water flow there. Turn on multiple faucets, turn on a vanity sink or two, however many we have, turn on a tub or a shower or both, and see how our water flow is. Do we lose a lot of flow when turning a second fixture on, third fixture, things like that. Bathtubs, of course, allow a lot more flow than a sink does. A lot more than a commode flush will make it vary. And so we're looking to see, hey, we have 2 sink faucets on and we're losing water flow. That might be an issue. We need to know why. Not as common, but that's kind of what we're looking for when we run multiple fixtures. We're doing a couple things. We're checking for plumbing, hot on the left, cold on the right. If we have 2 valves, that's what it should be. Hot on the left, cold on the right. It's considered a safety concern. If the cold's on the left and the hot's on the right, an elderly or a child may turn that hot on thinking they're turning the cold on, and they could scald themselves. So get burns, things like that. And same way that's everywhere. Kitchen, bathroom, shower, tub. And if we have a valve that rotates, it should always be cold and then rotate to hot. So we have to intentionally go over to the hot side. We don't turn it on and then have hot all of a sudden when we're barely on. And so when we're checking that at the sinks, I'll plug the drain off and fill the sinks up halfway maybe. And then enough so that when we drain them, when we let the water release, we hope to fill up that drain line under the sink. And the idea is, let's see if we can get water to squeeze out somewhere. We don't want to just run water and let it flow fast enough that it can't show a leak. So run as much as we can, let it drain. Hopefully it drains fast enough that if there is a leak, it will show up, and then we'll make notes accordingly, of course. We're checking our flow. Something that goes back to our water flow with our faucets is the aerators that help conserve water that are in the ends of our sink faucets. Sometimes those will just be clogged up. Hey, we don't have good water flow at this one. Maybe it doesn't get used very often. Maybe the lines have been winterized and then flushed and then re-ran again. And they've sat there for a while and they've clogged up with calcium or sediment, stuff from the supply lines maybe. And those just need either replaced, or a lot of them can be unscrewed. Sometimes they're just too corroded, you can't mess with them, and you may have to have a new faucet. But a lot of times they can be unscrewed. You can kind of clean them out, shake them out, or put a new one in, and then your flow starts back up good. So while we're in a bathroom, if we have, like say, a master bathroom and we have a standalone shower and it has a built-up shower pan, as in there's a curb you've got to step over to get into the shower, it's not dropped down with concrete or in the concrete, then I will cover that drain, plug it off, fill it with water a little bit, just a little bit, and let that sit. The idea is, I don't have a set amount of time, I just let it sit while I inspect. The idea is if that was built properly, if it's a tiled shower, it should have a liner or a spray barrier behind that tile so there are no openings where the hardy board comes together, or I'm sorry, not the hardy board, the cement board. Where that comes together, there should basically be what they call a pan. Basically, it should make it like a little bathtub. And I've had a plumber tell a realtor before, this thing is it's not a bathtub, it's not meant to hold water. But that's incorrect. It is meant to hold water. And the reason it is intended to hold water and that we want it to is because if you ever have a sewer backup and it backs up and fills your shower up, the floor of your shower, you want it to hold it as long as it can, because that's contaminated sewage water. And if it has a spot where it can leak out, now you have bacteria leaking out into your floor, into your wall, whatever, right? To the adjacent closet. Now your carpet has bacteria on it from sewage. Yes, it's not a bath, but it is intended to hold water. And so we want to make sure those aren't leaking. When we find a leak in a bathtub, when we find a leak in a shower pan like that, it's an unfortunate note. I hate having to make it because it's not an easy fix. Obviously, somebody can choose to not fix it, but normally it's a tiled shower, and the only way to fix it is to take the tile out and fix that pan and then retile it. You may get the same kind of tile, you may not, you may have to redo the whole shower. It's a really cruddy thing, but it is a good thing to find, because in that instance that we ever have a sewer backup, we want that water to stay in there. We're checking for where our shower head comes out of the wall, the little collar on the back of it that butts up against the tile or the marble or whatever it is that we have there. We want that sealed, because if our shower head ever gets a leak, sometimes they'll spray back onto the wall, then it'll run down that wall and it could get into the penetration that the shower plumbing is coming out of. So we want to keep everything sealed up. That's extremely common note. Just, hey, faucet collar needs sealed, faucet collar needs sealed. So let's see here, our drain stops in our sinks. So I said I always block the sink off, fill it with water and let it drain. Those stoppers are very finicky, and a lot of times usually it's just, the note says something like minor adjustments needed, unless they're just damaged, but usually they just need reconnected, maybe some adjustments, maybe they need cleaned up, but it's very common for those bathroom sink faucet or drains to not plug off fully and not hold water like they should. Something that we see a whole bunch of is we have these removable shower heads. Everybody seems to have a removable shower head, or even a bathtub with a handheld sprayer, same thing. Those are almost always too long and they hang down into the floor of the shower, or obviously if it's a handheld sprayer in a tub, it'll drop down into the tub. That's a cross-contamination issue, and it's an extremely common note. It's for the same reason for the shower pan, or the same idea. If we have a sewer backup and that removable shower head didn't get put back, or it fell down and now it's laying in the floor of the shower, and we have this sewage water come up, and then the city has a suction. If the city had a suction on its system, that shower head may suck up that bacteria-filled water, and now your fresh water lines are contaminated with bacteria. Super unfortunate event. I don't know what it takes for this perfect storm to happen, but if it does happen, you're in a bad spot, because now your fresh water lines have bacteria in them. I always tell people, just leave it hanging up. Don't let it fall down in there. With the handhelds on the bathtubs, it's just a design flaw. There's not much you can do about it. They're just gonna be too long because they're right there next to your tub. So extremely common note. Like I said, I just tell people, just leave it connected in its holder, make sure it's good. Looking at loose commodes, are commodes running? The loose commode thing it's an annoyance, right? But also it can be a leak concern, and that's something you'll see the termite guys call out. Hey, this commode's loose. It could be leaking. If we do leak water, and it doesn't make it into the drain, now we're going to have wet soil possibly. Termites will find that water, and that is a place that they'll come up into your home. So we want commodes snug, just so they're not wobbling on us, but also to prevent those leaks. Another thing that we're looking at is the commode running. For me, since you may not hear it when you walk up to it, you may be gone when it runs. I put blue dye tablets in the tank, and if I come back to the commode later and there's blue in the bowl, it tells me that flap is not sealing all the way and that it's leaking water a little bit. Sometimes you need a new mechanism in the bowl, sometimes it just needs some adjustments, maybe something's in the way, little calcium, little flaking from the commode tank. Usually not a big deal, but it's just an inefficiency. Hey, we're wasting water. Water's running when nobody's using it. So let's see here. We're looking at shutoff valves under the sinks, any of the sinks, so we should be able to turn our hot off and our cold off. A common note you'll see is corroded valves, and sometimes these valves are corroded, they're not leaking, and it may just be from just years of a little bit of moisture here and there, or it may be that, hey, this thing is leaking, but it's clogged itself up with calcium so much that we just can't see the leak now. And I don't have any way of knowing, so it's just noted. Be aware your valves show corrosion on them. They may be great. It's just extremely common also. Let's see. I'm not a plumber as discussed, but the way we do water, we check for water leaks. I can't do a pressure test because I'm not a plumber. The way we do water leaks is simply make sure everything is shut off, no water running, and then go to the water meter. I take a photo of it. I wait roughly 10 to 15 minutes. I go back and take another photo and see if it's moved at all. If it hasn't moved, hey, we don't see any sign of a leak. I do have a little disclaimer note that I'm not a plumber and this is not a proper pressure test. If someone wanted to do that, they could choose to do that by hiring a plumber. If it moves a little bit, it may move. We may see it tick over 2 or 3 tenths. I don't consider that a leak. A leak is when, hey, we've got water moving somewhere. We may or may not be able to see it, but it is consistently moving. It's not just ticking up or ticking. Every once in a while, the number will actually get smaller, as if water's flowing backwards. Sometimes that water will just move in there a little bit, and it's making that meter move, but we don't actually have a leak. So, I know we see shower heads that leak a lot, just usually at the connection. It's not a bad shower head, it's just, hey, this connection needs maybe taken off. Disconnect the shower head or remove it, retape it, and then put it back on. Usually it's something simple like that. I try to differentiate a leak at the connection versus a shower head that's actually leaking because it's damaged, because that may need replaced. We're looking at water hose bibs, vacuum brakes. We need vacuum brakes on them so that water cannot, kind of like we talked about the city having a suction on it when we talked about the removable shower head. On our water hose bibs outside, they have a deal called a vacuum brake that you'll see on there. It's brass, and when we have a water hose hooked up to it, say our water hose is sitting in a puddle of water. Well, if the city had a suction, we don't want it to be able to, that water hose to suck up water out of that puddle that it's sitting in, because that's considered dirty water, and then get back into the system. So they have these brakes that they'll let water come out, but they don't let water go back in. And they're on new builds. A lot of people don't like them. A lot of people take them off anyways, but they're considered incorrect if you don't have it. And so we're checking for those. As far as drains and vent pipes and things of that nature, on a standard home inspection, so we've already talked about how we're looking for drain leaks under sinks. We are checking drain size. Older houses, the drain size is incorrect on the washing machine usually, just too small, and that it was correct then, it's just not correct now. And then we're looking at, one of the biggest deals is run a lot of water, and the idea is I try to run enough water so that the main sewer line, the main lateral in the backyard, if there was a blockage somewhere, like a full-on blockage, I run enough water that it would fill up enough that I could see it at the clean out, if there's a clean out. Sometimes there's not, and that's a deficiency of its own. But then we go back there, take the cap off, and look down into the clean out, the sewer clean out, and see if we see standing water. If I don't see standing water, it's an assumption that there's not a blockage or an issue there. If we see standing water, it's how I recommend you have a sewer scope done to see why we're having standing water. It may be a belly, they call a belly, just a little low spot in your line. It may not be a big deal at all. It may just be, we just happen to be looking right where it's at. Or it could be because, hey, downstream, we've got roots or a beer can or, you know, just anything. Wet wipes don't drain well. We shouldn't flush those. Even if they say flushable, don't flush them down your toilet, okay? They are known to cause sewer blockages. And so we recommend a sewer scope if I see standing water. I'm not talking like there's a little bit of standing water, but we're talking like, hey, there's some water in there. It's actually, it's not just a little bit of standstill. It's like, hey, we've got a reason we have more water than we normally would, or for some reason. And then we recommend a sewer scope. So that is, oh, and then it's talking about vents. Sorry, that's about all on plumbing system here, but we'll talk about the vents. We're just looking if I can see that, if I notice a vent not connected, a vent pipe like through the attic or at the roof line, it's damaged, things like that, we'll make note of that. I do not count, hey, how many vents should I have versus how many faucets and commodes and showers and all that, because sometimes they join them together and they don't match up. It's not like, hey, we have six fixtures, we should have 6 vents coming out of the roof. It just doesn't line up that way. So, but if I notice in an attic something's not connected or something of that nature, then I'll make a note about that. So again, this is Remington Hub City Home Inspection. If you have any questions, give me a call, 806-786-6444, and I'll be happy to answer those the best I can. Thanks.